I never thought of myself as an alcoholic. And even, using that word felt like a betrayal of a good, like it felt like bad mouthing a friend. You know what I mean? I found myself Googling, like, you know, does drinking every day make you an alcoholic? Um, but
Does it?
I think once you start Googling stuff like that, maybe you have a problem, is what is the conclusion that I came to. But you get a lot of different answers. And also, like, thinking of alcohol as your friend that you're bad mouthing, maybe that's a problem. I lost drinking. It's weird. Like it's kind of like my drinking had always been my sort of subconscious safety net, security net, where it was like no matter what, I always felt like there was drinking. Like, oh, bad party, well, there'll be drinks there. I had to move to Minnesota from New York, which I loved, and I felt, well, there'll always be drinking.
Yeah.
And included with my job loss, I felt like, well, they're still drinking, which is a weird way to think, and maybe I'm making like it sound a little too explicit, but there was that machinery in the back of my mind where it was sort of like, at the end of the day, no matter what, job or no job, there was always sitting down with a whiskey or two or three or four.
What role did alcohol play in your house growing up?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a good one because my father was not an everyday drinker, but there was a lot of, my parents' relationship, they're a little bit like a vaudeville couple. They fight a lot and it's sometimes it's a little hard to be around, but they enjoy each other in that way. And so, if my father started to drink, my mother would get angry. And there was a lot of that, a lot of hiding booze. It was always like the MacGuffin or something for a lot of drama. Um, and as I got older, uh, booze became a way of bonding with my dad. And he kind of play acts where like he would go like, shh, let's go down to the basement where he keeps his jug of cheap vodka in a little was in his filing cabinet with his like 30-year-old income tax returns and stuff, and where he keeps only one glass that we would share, and we would take some and we'd pretend that my mother didn't know about it. So it was sort of like
Yeah.
uh, a bonding kind of thing, and that was something that I was a little bit afraid of losing, actually. Here's an irony, and I don't know if you experienced this, is like I really like drinking alone. It took the
The best.
pressure off. I didn't have to make conversation. So I like drinking I'd go see a movie by myself. That was like my happy place, was, bringing a bottle of whiskey into that. Like the spaces in between, like riding the subway, home from
Yeah.
work or something. But when I would get together with people socially, I found once I stopped drinking, I was more of a sharer because I think when I was drinking and I would get together with people, I when I had the inclination to share things, I would think, "Oh, that's just the booze," and I would keep my mouth shut. But without
Huh.
the booze, I find myself more forthcoming and more open to sharing because I don't see it as, I don't know, as circumspect or rather as dubious, or what's the word I'm looking for? Like as I'm not as doubtful about it. Like, oh, why am I feeling this feeling, of wanting to share? As a guy who, I hate using the word storyteller, but that's what I do, I guess. And I'm always looking when I'm interviewing people for that moment, the moment when things changed, that you can hang everything off of. It's great for structure. And in my own life, I didn't have that really. You know,
Hmm.
um, I didn't have a moment of bottoming out. I didn't have that night where I, went to a wedding and,
Went home with the bride and you weren't the groom.
yeah. Are you familiar with this expression? I don't even know where it comes from, but I have found it to be quite true, where it's like that first drink makes you feel like a new man, and the first thing that new man wants is a drink. You know what I
I
mean?
have
So it's
not
just
heard
sort
that,
of
but
like, and
yes.
on and on and on, and that's the
Yeah.
feeling. And that first drink is always the best, and you're just kind of chasing that feeling.
Do you think you would have stopped drinking if you hadn't lost your job?
That's a good question. Maybe what you're zeroing in on that moment, for me. Maybe not, actually. Yeah, maybe it wouldn't have, maybe I needed some of that bad feeling, I guess. Yeah, to come out on the other end.